Best electric guitar brands. Now, when that is being said, you should be saying, well, for what? So just to clarify that a little bit, what we're attempting to do here today is a little bit of a brief overview for those of you just starting out on your journey and wanting to find out a little bit more about who the big brands are and who to look for and where to start. We're going to touch base on a few of these today with a couple of models from each to showcase a little bit about what each is about. There's no playing, but we do have resources on most of this. So if you want to, once you find if something wets your whistle, tickles your fancy a little bit, dig in and have a look. But we're just going to go through some of the main talking points, who each is for, what they're good for and stuff like that. So with no further ado, we'll work from my right to left and we'll start with one of the real big boys, and that is Gibson. In my right hand, the Les Paul, and in my left, the SG. And as you can see, these look quite radically different. So the Les Paul came first, in my right hand here, and he was kind of the guy who it's named after was a jazz player, which gives you some clue as to what it was designed for. However, you might recognise Slash playing one of these, and truth be told, a lot of players have favoured the Les Paul over the years as their axe of choice. However, the SG, Tony Iommi of Sabbath, very famous proponent, and they do have a real place in the metal world. The double horn thing really lends itself to that. However, equally, you know, Tom York of Radiohead, I can remember playing one. So the thing that I'd point to Gibson really is their versatility. The PAF humbuckers, you can wrangle a wide range of tones out of, which is why this brand has been used in about every style of music that you can think of. Now, most of these models are still made in the USA, so they're still very close to home and build on the heritage that the brand has built over the years. And they're a massively aspirational brand. Gibsons don't come cheap, truth be told. But that is because you are getting that quality craftsmanship and years of heritage that the brand has built to where the majority of their designs now are absolute classics and very, very well known. These are two of the best. However, there's many, many more. And just to touch on that, we'll go next to their sister brand, Epiphone. So the reason I've grabbed the Coronet first is because Epiphone started out as a brand in its own right, with its own sense of identity, and to a degree it very much still has that, and the Coronet's a great example of that. This single P90 one is a bit of a rock and roll machine, I must admit. Much like an SG, they just have this feel to them. When you pick them up, you just want to riff on them. It's actually quite hard not to now when I'm holding one. You know, with the cool pickguard design, it's very original, very idiosyncratic, and very, very cool. And it's nice still that affordable price points, Epiphone, still have those heritage models and give you a taste of what the brand was built on. However, they also do cheaper counterparts of Gibson models. Now, Epiphone started out as a brand that specialised in archtops, so the fact they do 335s like this is super, super cool. And they do them at price points that allow the brand to be a stepping stone onto the Gibson ladder. Whether you want to try out whether these guitars are right for you, or you're starting out on your journey and you don't have the funds necessarily yet to really sink into a Gibson, Epiphone can be a really good brand to get you started on that journey. And actually they offer a really good level of craftsmanship and QC, all with the famous designs that are iconic to most of us and a lot of us do want to play. So Epiphone is a really, really good brand for beginners to be looking at. A brand that is slightly less beginner friendly, truth be told, but one that is important to know about is Rickenbacker. So another hollow body, but this time a 12 string. The 330 shape from Rickenbacker, as you can see here with the slightly pointier horns, is probably their most famous shape, but the brand very much was popularised by the Beatles. But not just them, a lot of famous people have played Rickenbacker over the years. The first Smiths album had a 330 on it. Johnny Marr was famed for using it. And they have, if there's one word to sum up Rickenbacker, it is jangle. The pickups and hollow body designs and stuff like that give them a very specific sound. It's one you will have heard over the years just by virtue of the size of the artist that have used the brand. They have, and the fact this is a 12 string, which is another thing that Rickenbacker specialise, is the electric 12 string. 12 strings that play like 6 strings is the best way to summarise it. They have a very, very strong identity, a characterful identity that only they can do. If you want the Rickenbacker sound, you need to buy a Rickenbacker. It's as simple as that. And that's why I thought it was important to include on here, because they're still going strong years later. There aren't loads of them around. So when you do see one, it's very cool. And normally they come from, the interest is generated through the artist usage. So super, super cool, super characterful, and worth a mention. Moving on to the complete other end of the design spectrum, we'll talk about PRS guitars now. And what better way to show the brand off than with this beauty? And for me, this McCarthy 594 quite neatly shows off what Paul Reed Smith guitars are all about. And that for me, if I was to use one word, is refinement. The approach for the brand has always seemed to be, how can we make guitars better? So, if you look at the cosmetics, they are stunning. There really is no other way to put it. They're known for their amazing tops, often quilted with these beautiful gradient finishes and kind of bursts, and they tend to look amazing, but that is backed up by Paul Reed Smith's years of luthier experience and constant innovation and improvement upon classic designs. Now, in terms of the refinement element, this is actually best showcased with the other model here, which is the Silver Sky. If I quickly grab this. Being an S-type, this is very familiar with what we're about to touch on next, very similar. And this was essentially Paul and John Mayer putting their heads together with refinement in mind and taking a classic body shape and guitar design and thinking, how do we build upon it? How do we improve it? And the Silver Sky has been a massively, massively popular design since it was introduced, both at core and now at SE level, at the more affordable price points. And it kind of showcases that point of refinement and upgrading and optimizing to its fullest degree. And these models are super, super cool and worth looking at. Moving on to another massive brand, we're moving to Fender. So I'll grab the Telecaster first. This is another body shape that is very likely to be recognisable to you. Truth be told, Fender and Gibson are the two biggest names in the guitar world. They've both been around for years and years and years, been played by countless artists, and the tones that they produce have been heard on countless records, to the point that these things tend to just feel and sound familiar when you play them, which is a really nice feature for any instrument to have. And what's nice is that the designs, true for Gibson as well, but especially for Fender, haven't really changed all that much in the years since Leo designed them, who was the founder, Leo Fender. And that's what's cool. They're maybe not as ergonomic as a PRS or an Ibanez that we'll come to later, but the character and the heritage, and they tell a story, and that's something that everybody buys into. Literally everybody. I don't know a guitarist really that doesn't want to own a Fender. The only people I'd maybe think of are metal guitarists, but then there's a recent spate of more traditional body shapes making its way into that world, so I'm not sure that's even true anymore. So it's another aspirational brand. They still do a lot of high-end stuff that is the pinnacle and holy grail for a lot of guitarists. The Telecaster, but then also the Stratocaster, are two of the most iconic body shapes ever designed, to the point you've probably seen these, whether you realise it or not, over the years. You could reel off dozens and dozens and dozens of artists that have used both. And if the word to sum up a Rickenbacker is jangle, then in terms of the tone, the word to sum up Fender is probably twang. They have a certain, the single coil pickups are what give them this. They have a certain snap, a certain nice, almost brittle sound to them that is really good. It cuts through a mix. It has this lovely kind of articulation, and they're very, very good for a wide range of styles, all the way from country to metal, truth be told. And yeah, an aspirational brand, and one of the biggest guitar brands since their inception. Staying firmly in the Fender wheelhouse, what Epiphone is to Gibson, Squier is to Fender. So as you can see, this lovely pink Strat, HSS though in this case, these come along at far more affordable price points and provide a nice first stepping stone onto the Fender ladder for anyone that wants to try these designs, wants to try these guitars out and see what they're about. My first guitar was a Squier. But what's really, really nice is that in the, oh dear, nearly 20 years now since I started playing, the standard of the entry-level Squiers has just exponentially improved. Gone are the days now where you get sharp fret ends, really poor tuning stability, and cheap feeling hardware. Now even the complete entry-level, the Sonic stuff as it's called now, genuinely every time I pick it up really impresses me, and I tend to find myself thinking I wish I'd have killed for my first guitar to have been as good as this. So again, it's a stepping stone onto it. A lot of people, you grow up watching people play pre-CBS Strats. Not everyone's got the thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds you would need to spend on one, let alone even finding one. So Squiers are a brilliant, brilliant way, and quite an affordable way to get you on that journey and kickstart, because the designs are largely the same, so you're going to be able to wrangle the same tones out of them, and they just provide, yeah, cool, classic designs at uber affordable price points. But moving from the traditional to something more metal, a Jackson. This Super Strat, which I'm allowed to use that term because Jackson is owned by Fender. So the thinking here in the 80s was, well, we've got a genre and stylistic kind of movement here that is moving towards faster playing, to shredding. How do we design the instruments in a way that facilitates that to a greater degree? And Jackson, one of the big proponents pushing that forward, and they came up with this. So it was, if you look at the Strat that it's based on, slightly deep heels, giving you better upper fret access, thinner neck profiles, faster necks, and then classic kind of Floyd Rose hardware that allows you to do the dive bombs and the squeals and all that stuff that was synonymous with the music at the time. And what's nice to report is that the brand's still very much going strong. And what I personally love about Jackson is this is a brand with a massive amount of heritage, especially in the metal world, but one where they build guitars at a range of price points, starting from entry level. So what's really nice is if this is a brand that you've grown up with your favourite player seeing, you can get onto that ladder while still saying Jackson on the headstock. And that's really, really nice. I always like when brands allow themselves to be accessible like that. And the one behind it, they do the road shape, which I will quickly grab. So this is their take on a V. You can see it's asymmetrical. This was designed with Randy Rhoads. It started out as the Concorde before becoming this, which is known as the Rhoads, as his surname. Again, they do these in a range of price points, so you're not locked out by four-figure starting points or anything like that. Really quick necks. I find them super comfortable to play. I don't know, there's something about the beveling on them that is really cool. And it shows off how some of the more extreme designs, if you want stuff more down this line, have a look at the Warrior and the Kelly for similar examples. But as my t-shirt suggests, I think Jackson are doing some really, really cool stuff at the minute at really cool price points. So if you're into your metal sort of stylings, definitely one to look at. And another big name in the metal world, one of the biggest names, is Ibanez. Now, this is, I think, a really, really good example of what Ibanez are all about. We were just touching on the kind of super shredder type thing there, ergonomic, playable, you know, quick. And that is what Ibanez's do super, super well. So the Wizard neck profile, I don't know if that's what this has, but that's one of the things that they're really well known for, which is an incredibly fast profile with generally a satin finish, which is built for speed. And then everything about them is just designed to be playable. And the thing that I think Ibanez's are known for more than anything else is just at every level being absolutely solid. It's very rare you come across a bad Ibanez guitar, and that's most people's experiences, truth be told. Right the way from the Geo to the premium and the prestige stuff. They're all incredibly well put together, really good QC. And yes, just ergonomic and built for kind of speed, which is why they're still a lot of people's go-to brand. And one of the brands where you see people, they start on it and they don't leave. They just keep going up or buying more, which is testament actually to the quality, as I've pointed to. So again, kind of if you're into your metal kind of stylings and sounds and timbres, Ibanez have a range of instruments at different price points, which get you into that hemisphere. But what's nice is it being an older brand, they still do traditional stuff as well. The AR, I think this is a good example of this. Obviously, kind of a double cutaway, more traditional shape. It's hollow body, which is dead cool. They also do kind of arch toppy, jazzy stuff. They do the George Benson signature. Obviously, he was their first signature artist, I believe, which kind of shows that there's a kind of diverse range of guitars that Ibanez built for completely different people. So as much as I've played into the metal thing, which they are synonymous with, it's worth checking out their wider range because they do a lot of really, really good value for money instruments in a lot of different sort of sonic territories, so to speak. So have a look, see if there's anything that kind of tickles your fancy. And we were talking there about solid construction, and another brand for me that is just synonymous with that and sums it really nicely is Yamaha. I know a lot of people that have a Yamaha simply for the fact they know it won't let them down. Reliability is a big, big thing with this brand, and if you are buying an instrument for the first time, knowing that it's not going to do you a disservice and let you down when you probably really need it not to, the peace of mind that provides is massive, which is why a lot of people do start their journey out with Yamaha. The Pacificas here have a great range of tones in them, truth be told as well, so you're getting that sheer versatility to the point this is a bit of a workhorse that kind of suits really anything that you throw at it. You've got the humbucker and the single coils there, so in terms of even the pickup configuration, you can wrangle both, say, Fender or Gibson tones out of it because you've got both. You're not limited to one or the other. So Yamaha is a great brand just for feeling rock solid and knowing it's not going to let you down, and it shouldn't be understated how much that matters. Moving to the left onto the rack then, we have Gretsch. Now, Gretsch is another heritage brand that is heavily associated with country. One of the big artists that they had was Chet Atkins. The 6120 was his signature model, and these things are known for the tone that they produce. It's normally the Filtertron pickups or TV Joneses on the higher end ones. They have a very signature sound that is quite percussive. It's a little bit maybe blunted in places, similar to maybe a Jazzmaster pickup or something like that, but even more so, that makes them really good for certain country styles like finger picking and stuff like that. They have a really cool, unique tone. This orange colourway is very synonymous with the brand. It's very well known, and I think that goes to show how big a brand Gretsch is in the guitar world when it has a colour that you probably isn't very successful on most brands, but it's Gretsch's most famous, and it goes to show how well they've established themselves, how far their identity is spread and how many people know it. And what's really nice again is that Gretsch, they make the USA stuff, they have the top end stuff, but the Streamliner and the Electromatic series allow people to get those tones, those designs, which can only really be accessed from a Gretsch at more affordable price points. So if country's your thing, or you like the sound, or you're a Stray Cats fan, you love Brian Setzer, have a look at Gretsch, because they do offer something unique, but they also come in at a range of price points that make that accessible, which is dead cool. And we'll finish it off with a newer brand, and that is Hartwood. And the reason I've chucked these in is because I respect the fact that they're trying to do something different. These come in at the cheaper end of the market. These are quite affordable instruments, but what I respect and like here is that they are pushing the boundaries of what is possible at these price points. The MO of the brand is very clearly to make original designs. I think at these price points, you're very used to seeing imitative instruments that are incredibly derivative of their more famous counterparts. What's nice is that Hartwood are going in the opposite direction of that, and they're trying to design things that are unique and cool and give the brand a sense of identity in its own right, without breaking the bank, which is something I think most of us can get behind. The Daytona here in this kind of green flake metallic finish is dead cool, and it's unique, and again, it's like I was saying about the SG and the Coronet, you want to riff on it, which I think is never a bad thing for a guitar to leave you feeling. And truth be told, I've actually had a sneak preview of what's coming next for the brand, and they're pushing this idea of originality to the nth degree. There is some super cool stuff coming that as I say, pushes that idea further. So I would keep your eyes peeled for what's next, because this Hartwood is very much a brand to watch, I would say. So yes, keep an eye out for what's coming up for these. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of a taste and a very brief overview of some of the biggest brands in guitars nowadays. I've missed loads, because the beautiful thing is there's loads of brands nowadays and there's loads to choose from. As I said, this is just for those of you starting out that wanted maybe to be pointed in a direction, or just to get a bit of inspiration, or if something catches the eye. I mean, a lot of these guitars are very pretty. This one absolutely is. So hopefully you've got a little bit from this. Obviously there's no playing, as I said, but we've got plenty of resources for this. So make sure you head across to the website and check out the YouTube channel and deep dive into, find out more of what these brands are doing. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope that's been of some use. I've been Tom, and I'll see you next time.